beaches and ocean conditions around the world. Mike Kramer will be talking in greater detail about our beaches from a geological perspective later in this presentation. In short, our group appreciates everyone's time here today to talk about a proposed trial which contemplates allowing surfing outside of Harvey Cedars lifeguard flags in 2018 by way of a buffer zone on each side of lifeguard stands to keep swimmers and surfers separate. To keep the presentation on track and everyone awake, there will be several of us presenting different areas. In short, we've met and discussed the surfing outside the flags proposal trial with township officials over the past several months. Our group spoke at the annual Harvey Cedars Taxpayer Association meeting in late August, and most recently we made efforts with the township administration to produce a non-binding voting flyer to be sent to township taxpayers. During our discussions with the Harvey Cedars administration, they voiced opposition on surfing outside the flags based on the premise it will invite safety issues, increase township liability, increase lifeguard distraction, create parking problems for residents. The township may be required to raise badge prices to hire more lifeguards, and bottom contours and currents in Harvey Cedars are different than other island townships. We will address these issues and point out there are no actual facts or observational data that support the concerns to the level that justifies restricting Harvey Cedars taxpayers and visitors surfing access to the ocean. Our position is supported by the island-wide adoption of surfing outside the flags, in addition to our township's own safety data that the administration provided to us. Harvey Cedars is a beach town. The ocean is our main attraction and the reason why many Harvey Cedars residents and visitors choose to be here. Right now we have 12 beaches whose respective swimming areas comprise approximately 200 feet wide each, which equates to about 20% of the ocean front. Our issue is relative to how the 80% of Harvey Cedars oceanfront not being utilized for swimming could be opened up for greater taxpayer and visitor access for surfing or other recreational activities during the summer. In the past, before the beach replenishment projects, this would have prevented a challenge since jetties acted as borders between the swimming beaches. With jetties now effectively buried by sand, we have wide open, continuous, uninterrupted beachfront potentially lending itself to a number of recreational opportunities not possible in the past. Every town on Long Beach Island allows surfing outside the flags except Harvey Cedars. Ship Bottom has allowed it for over 10 years. Barnegat Light has practiced it for many years. Long Beach Township opened all beaches to surfing and other recreational activities in 2017 after a graduated implementation beginning in 2008. And most recently, Surf City opened their beaches for surfing this past summer. The mayors, chiefs of police, and captains of every lifeguard unit on the island have adopted and support surfing outside the flags in their townships, and we're not aware of any reportable issues. We know this because our group reached out and spoke to many senior officials in almost every town, and we've been witness to many positive articles in the local press. Common sense also tells us that the mayors and lifeguard administrations would have ended these programs immediately if they were not safe or if other issues existed. These senior officials and administrations owed the surfers nothing, but many have demonstrated a willingness and understanding to work with their communities who ask for expanding recreational areas beyond the swimming zones on their beaches. We believe our taxpayer dollars should continue to ensure recreational opportunities are available to all Harvey Cedars taxpayers, their children, grandchildren, and future generations to come. Surfing is a Harvey Cedars tradition that instills many positive attributes: self-reliance, respect for nature, and a lifelong attachment to our town. In this day and age, our kids deserve opportunities, not restrictions. Right now, kids are called out of the water at 10 a.m. on small wave days, which are perfect for their level of ability. Many are left with no other option than to get on their bikes and ride down our crowded boulevard with their surfboards. As we all know, our boulevard is not a safe place, and while it's absolutely not the administration's intention, a collateral effect of the current remote and limited surfing areas is our town's children's exposure to travel on a dangerous boulevard with their surfboards. This is not only a dangerous situation for our town's kids, but also vehicle drivers, pedestrians, and other bicyclists. I personally fear the boulevard with regard to my own kids' safety and signed the 3 NHC petition several years ago. Additionally, the dedicated surfing beach at Hudson Avenue is not a safe environment for families learning to surf. We recognize the township does not endorse or promote Surfline.com's live webcam or the Hudson Avenue Surf Report, but the website does attract surfers to Hudson Avenue, heightening the surfing level to be unsuitable for beginners and families looking to teach their kids how to surf, and it creates a crowded environment for taxpayer local surfers who'd be much happier with their families and friends in their neighborhoods. So far as the other surfing areas available at Maristella and respective borders of town, without buffer flags outside of these swimming areas, swimmers unable to deal with the currents sometimes land close to the surfing areas, and surfers typically find themselves taking heat from lifeguards for simply existing. Surfing is an extremely safe, healthy, and family-oriented sport that should be promoted, not restricted. We'd like to see a situation where a family goes up to the beach in the morning with friends, guests, umbrellas, beach chairs, and surfboards, and has access to the waves at any time of day as appropriate conditions present themselves. We're trying to keep families and friends together surfing in their neighborhoods and ask, who better to ensure their safety than their own families and friends? Surfing with the same crew conveniently and on a regular basis get kids excited to surf and promotes bonds that last a lifetime. We don't believe regulation should deny a parent from pushing their child into a 2-foot wave 100 yards away from swimmers, or restrict experienced tax-paying surfers who in many cases are former lifeguards who actually increase the level of water safety to swimmers in distress. In short, we're simply asking for the same access to our ocean that's currently enjoyed by every other town on Long Beach Island. I'll pass it off to Mike.
My name is Mike Kramer, 72 Main Lane. So I've been a surfer here since 1966, for over 50 years, within just a few blocks of here. I raised 2 daughters that surf here, and so I'm pretty well aware of safety issues as it relates to raising kids here and beginner surfers. Earlier this summer I started a petition. I never started a petition before. I thought with Surf City approving surfing that Harvey Cedars would sort of voluntarily start to move in that direction, but half the summer went by and I didn't see any discussion on it. So I said, well, I need 100 friends, some of my crew here from Harvey Cedars, just to have some backing so I could come to you guys and say we have some support to start talking about this. Got 1,000 signatures the first day, 1,000 the second day, and then we're up to 3,000. The vast majority of signers are residents, visitors, people who spend their money here, people who love Harvey Cedars. We do have some signers that are up and down the coast. Surfers are kind of a tight-knit group, so there is support up and down the coast, but the vast majority, I would say 2/3 of it, are people who visit Harvey Cedars, pay taxes here, rent, and so on. These people signed a petition because they're frustrated that we're the only town that doesn't allow surfing, and they thought that would give a voice to their concerns, and that it would start to kind of move the conversation forward. And so we are trying, Jamie and I and Casey and the tight-knit crew around 80th Street here, trying to work with the town as we have since mid-August or so to kind of keep this thing going. The interest and the support is significant. I haven't talked to anybody in town who doesn't support it. I know there's some lifeguards that don't, but grandparents, parents of non-surfers, people who love to watch surfing, as well as obviously all the families who do surf. You can't find anybody who doesn't support. There are some families that are a little less vocal about it than they were in the beginning for I'm not sure what reasons, but there's a lot of support. And so I don't want anybody to discount the fact that 3,000 people signed this. It's kind of, I don't know when the last issue had so much interest in Harvey Cedars. To give it a little more, meaning, I'm going to just read a couple quotes. Robert Rue from Harvey Cedars, who is not a surfer, happens to be in the room with us here today. My family's owned a home in Harvey Cedars since 1956. I spent every summer of my life here. There's no good reason that I've heard why surfing outside the flag should not be allowed. It's time we join the rest of the island and allow this practice to enhance safety of those swimming in our town. Robert Ramo, Harvey Cedars. I was involved in the rescue of an epileptic young man who would have died if not for a local surfer reaching before the lifeguard. My opinion is that surfing in spaces between the swimming areas would likely improve the safety of the borough, not detract from it. Bob Gilpin, as a Harvey Cedars homeowner and longtime surfer, I would like the option to surf during the day close to my residence. Plus, it will spread the group out on good days and make it safer for everyone. During our discussions with the township, we were asked by Mike, Commissioner of Public Safety, why surfers aren't satisfied with surfing before 10 after 5 and at our designated surfing beaches. It's a reasonable question. The answer is, this is not about advanced surfers. We get to surf all we want on red flag days. We had 3 this summer. We surf all day. We've never been kept out of the water when the waves are good. It's about beginner surfers, intermediate surfers, as Jamie pointed out. It's about surfing in your neighborhood. On the days that are perfect, waist high, knee high, insignificant, those kids are getting pulled out of the water. And then you're, as we said, you're going down to Boulevard and you're going to a crowded surfing beach. For non-surfers in the room, there's not that many that are non-surfers, but I wanted to explain why waves are fleeting. We hardly get swells here. You guys know that? Half the day's not good for beginner and intermediate surfers. If it's high tide, the waves don't break in the bar. You need shallow, low tide situation with gentle waves rolling across the sandbar. Half the day is no good. And then with our wind conditions, that obliterates a swell half the time. So if you multiply those probabilities out, rare swell, 50% of the day is no good. Wind, we hardly get waves. I had days teaching Ann and Sally for summers, teaching in Ann and Sally, where there'd be 4 or 5 days out of a 60-day summer, where we had an hour or an hour and a half session that were appropriate for their levels, for people this big. That's how rare it is. It doesn't always happen before 10 and after 5. It happens whenever it happens, and to be restricted from that period of time with your kids is significant. And you're not gonna go to Hudson, as Jamie pointed out. The other thing I would like to point out, if you're a renter or a homeowner and you get 1 week here and it happens to be high tide at 8 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock at night, the entire week you can't surf in front of your house. You're going Hudson. You gotta pack the kids up in the car, or the kids that can surf for that particular wave condition in the car, leave the other kids behind and go to Hudson. I personally haven't surfed at Hudson since 1982. I wouldn't consider surfing at Hudson. I never let my kids surf at Hudson. They've never seen Hudson. It's not an option for us. We'd rather not surf. So the designated surfing beach, the crowded situation, it's just not something that works for us. It works for little kids that are shredding it up and want to be seen by their friends. For most of us as parents, it doesn't work. I'm gonna go through due diligence. Everything we say here is fact. I have a science background. Everything we say here is fact or empirical data, which is observed or experienced data, not hypothetical, not pure logic, not baseless. It's all fact. And if anybody thinks that we're making something up and we're not backing it up, they have to stop us. So before I go into kind of a more detailed analysis, I want Casey. We leveraged on Casey's work. She pitched Surf City. She's going to talk about that. They pitched Surf City early summer. You know they approved it, and they went through a whole lot of work. So go ahead, Casey.
Thanks, Mike. I'm Casey, Deacon, 102 First Ave in Tuckerton. So I'll tell my story real quick for you guys. It was a beautiful day in June in Surf City, and I was on the beach with my family, and the waves were really good that day. So my husband left our street and he drove to the surfing beach, and I was sitting there thinking, how ridiculous is it that our family got broken up so that he can go surf somewhere? Now we won't spend the day together. And also, I knew that me and my family would have really enjoyed watching him surf in the vast space in between the flags in Surf City, which is a lot more space than there is in Harvey Cedars. We have a lot of space in between our swimming beaches. So that night, I started a petition. We gained instant momentum. We had 1,000 signatures in about a week. So after that, I invited a fellow surfer, a guy named Frank Troy, in with me. We researched, we presented our data to the Surf City Mayor and Council for presenting it. I have an insurance background, so I covered the liability and safety portions, and he has a sales background, so he covered surfers, socioeconomics, and the financial impact surfers have on communities. We spent 2 weeks researching and gathering data, and we also spoke to townspeople throughout the island and every lifeguard captain except for Barnegat Lake, but then Mike did get to talk to the Barnegat Lake. So for this one, we talked to every single one. We presented in July, and when we presented, we were approved unanimously. I was really happy to share all that data that we collected with Jamie and Mike. So since July, we've had a successful trial in Surf City. All the townspeople, including the surfers and their families, are enjoying the beach in harmony. And I'm here today to support Mike and Jamie in making that a reality in Harvey Cedars. So, how the buffer flag system works. I happen to know Tom Smith pretty well. We went to school together. So I reached out to him, and he just gave me a brief explanation, so I'm going to read that to you guys.
Senior lieutenant.
He's the senior lieutenant in Ship Bottom. All right, so Tom says, in Ship Bottom we use a 2-flag system. We have swimming between the green flags and surfing between the yellow flags. On each beach, the lifeguards are equipped with 2 green and 2 yellow. They set up on their beach. The swimming area is designated between green flags that they set up, and then there's 20 yards, and then there's a yellow flag placed. The buffer zone is there to keep swimmers and surfers away from each other on the boundary line. Between the yellow flags, people can swim, surf, kayak, and fish. No one in the buffer zone. Skim, not swim, sorry. In Ship Bottom, the surfers know the rules and they stay out of the swimming areas. They at times help us direct swimmers back into the swim areas when the swimmers are out of or drift out of the swimming area. Lifeguards spend more time directing swimmers to stay in their area. We have had situations where swimmers needed help and could not get back in because a rip had formed with the tide change, and surfers have paddled to the swimmer in distress and held them there until the lifeguard could make it out to them and bring them in. A lot of surfers who surf in Ship Bottom are local people and respect the lifeguards. Prior to this, we had a surfing beach on 9th Street between 8th and 11th Streets, and we had many incidents on that surfing beach because it was very crowded. Lifeguards had to help surfers who were getting injured by other surfers from running them over due to the number of people. Opening all beaches definitely solved that issue. I've spoken to many people who have spent their days on other beaches in other towns, and after we allowed surfing in Ship Bottom, they decided to come to Ship Bottom. This definitely affected badge sales due to more people wanting to come to Ship Bottom and spend the day with their families on the beach and surf. Back to you, Mike.
Right. I'm going to start with safety. I might stand up too. I'm going to start with safety because it's clearly the most important issue that anybody would bring up, but that the township brought up. As I said at the beginning, or as Jamie said at the beginning, really one of the most important overriding principles here is that if there were any issues with any of these programs on the entire island, we know that the mayors would end them right away. And again, we will repeat ourselves, say, they owe nothing to surfers. I want to quote Tom Smith, Lieutenant, who Casey was just talking about as far as the layout of the buffer system. For 10 years, we've been allowing surfing outside the flags with no problems. This is like the strongest statement you could say. A town that has done this for 10 years has no problems, safety or otherwise. Completely positive for the town. Captain Mark DeLeo of Surf City is quoted saying, surfers have been very cooperative with staying outside the swimming zones and it's worked out exceedingly well. The Long Beach Island Township website has this to say, and we have it because it's a nice example of how the township worked with the folks in town to make it happen. Since 2008, the Board of Commissioners has worked together with our community to improve our beaches and ensure the public's enjoyment of the unique activities our island offers. By the way, let me just back up for a second. This statement is regarding the 2017 realization of opening up all the township beaches to surfing and recreational activities. So we've improved our beaches to ensure the public's enjoyment of all the unique activities our island offers. Mayor Mancini, Commissioner Bayard, and Commissioner Latanzi, I don't know if I pronounced that right. That's right. Understand listening and working together with residents and visitors and all citizens towards a common goal is how ideas become reality. So it works there. We make calls up and down the island, as Casey said, and I know Chief Burnford, we've spoken a bunch of times, has called to his colleagues and has found nothing significant from the police side. I'm not sure what Randy has done as far as calling his counterparts up and down the island, but if he did, I'm sure he'd find out that it's all positive. These testimonials, especially the Tom Smith one, are extremely powerful, and it should be kind of most of what we have to say today, but we will go on. We have three sources of data. First, Casey mentioned, calling up and down the island. We leveraged on that, we augmented it. As she said, we talked to more people, and we dug in on the liability side, and we dug in on the safety side a little bit more. We spent a lot of time on the legal side. The quick news is that there's no issue there either. The second source of data, our own surfing outside the flag experience. We do surfing outside the flag here. It's limited, it's at Bergen, it's at Maristella, it's at 86th Street. We've been doing it for years. We asked our captain lifeguards for data on this, and he furnished it to us, and it's all positive. There's no negative safety information that comes back for probably decades at Bergen. I don't know how long we've been doing it. No surfers running into swimmers. No surfers' leashes are wrapping around swimmers' necks. No rescue of surfers ever. Positive across the board. Third source of data is in this room. Probably a couple hundred man-years of surfing that resides in this room. I have 50 years. Jamie's got 40. Carl's got 35, probably. Walt's got over 40. You add it together, these five guys. How many people have been surfing over 30 years here in this room? Okay, so we're over 200 years of guys sitting on boards, man-years of guys sitting on boards in this town, experiencing any kind of safety issue that could possibly come up, raising their kids surfing here. Has anybody ever been rescued by a lifeguard? Any of you guys? Has anybody hit a swimmer or heard of somebody hitting a swimmer? So a couple hundred years, this is a data source, it's very valuable. It resides right here within a few blocks of 80th Street. There's no information on any safety issues related to surface. It just doesn't happen. We never require a save. We have our life preserver tied to our leg. Okay, so rip currents, it doesn't affect us. So that's, you know, I just want to again emphasize how important that is. My last question is, have you guys ever rescued a swimmer? Anybody rescued a swimmer in their life? Okay. There were dozens of people on the beach when Jamie was surfing outside the flag at 86th Street, guy floating face down. He brought him in, he got resuscitated. You know, he's puking up, resuscitated, medevaced, and he lived. And if he wasn't surfing outside the flag on that day, that guy would be dead. He's got another 10 saves. Carl, how many saves you got?
Can't remember.
Okay. We're not talking about being heroes. This just happens. We're in the water. It happens. I have 10 saves. One, 2009, he died on the way in, couldn't be revived. 2 guys had resuscitated. I don't know how to do that. Guys on the beach could do it. Surfers always know how to do it. For some reason, I don't. They resuscitated him. I got 7 other guys completely scared out of their mind, but weren't going to die. This happens. We all have done it. This is part of the role that we play here. Barnegat Light has recognized the importance of surface in water and has promoted surfing. It promoted bringing surfers in and kind of training them how to get to a swimmer first. And just all we do is give the board over. You don't touch a swimmer. You let them get their head above water. The lifeguard's got a couple extra minutes to get there, and you save the guy. Happens over and over again. There was an article in the CBS News a few weeks ago about this. It's brilliant. I spoke to Bob Suffrage about it. It's brilliant. Every other town, I'm sure, will adopt this. So right now we're restricting surfing, but other towns are promoting surfing. So I just want to get that point out about Barnegat Light. I give them a lot of credit for doing it. So we've done our research. We can't find anything. Again, these are facts. These are absolute facts, empirical data, facts from up and down the island. Can't find any negatives on surfing. No rescues of surfers. Our own town data shows no rescues of surfers, no interaction with swimmers. But for a second, let's talk about a more serious safety issue. Body surfing. 2014, right between the flags at 80th Street, body surfer, dead. Broke his neck, he died. Between the flags, right on a guarded beach, middle of the day. Between 2010 and 2014, we had a handful of medevacs every year. One summer, I think it was over 5. I don't have the numbers, they're easy to get. Spinal injury due to body surfing. It happens over and over again. It's extremely dangerous. And swimming, anytime there's rip currents, it's the possibility of getting pulled out and drowning. These are dangerous activities. We do not restrict them. Why are we restricting surfing? So that's why I'm not clear on. Things that are proven dangerous, we don't restrict, and I'm not saying we should, but things that are completely safe and have no record of any danger whatsoever, we're restricting. Another issue that came up, we were talking with Mike and Chief Burnford and Randy Townsend, concerned that beginner surfers would be a safety issue outside the flags. First of all, when we're teaching our kids, it's small and there's really no rip currents, but that's not a scientific answer, so I'm not going to rely on that. The larger question is, what issues have arisen in the last 50 years of us teaching our kids here how to surf? Before 10 and after, all this stuff happens before 10 and after 5. What has happened before 10 and after 5 in the last 50 years that would indicate that beginner surfers are a safety issue? And the answer is, we have been teaching our kids here for the past 50 years, and there are no issues. There's no recorded issues that would be in our records in Harvey Cedars. We asked for it. There are none. Teaching beginners don't present any more danger. They don't run into swimmers. And by the way, before 10 and after 5, we surf in and among swimmers. With this buffer system, we will be surfing away from swimmers. There'd be absolutely no chance. Now, we surf with swimmers. We still don't hit them. There's no record of it. It may have happened, but it's insignificant. So just to say, as we're talking about this buffer, as we're talking about rolling out a trial, to say that these things may happen in a trial is unrealistic. They haven't happened in 50 years. It's unrealistic to say that surfers are going to cause a safety issue now. I'm gonna just kick it over to Jamie to talk about liability for a second, and then I'll take it up again in a second.
Okay, so I'm reading from a script, but pretty basic stuff. One of the initial concerns the Harvey Cedars administration expressed was the potential of increased township liability. I'm obviously not a lawyer, but during our research, we found ample New Jersey case law concerning township immunity available under the New Jersey Tort Claims Act as it relates to Title 59, particularly Title 59 4-8, condition of unimproved public property immunity. In sections 59 3.5 and 59 2.4, adoption or failure to adopt or enforce any law. I'll refrain from making any attempt to interpret the law or reference specific cases, but suffice to say, the New Jersey Supreme Court has rendered decisions which largely immunize a municipality from surfer injuries and subsequent claims due to the ocean's natural conditions of which the government cannot control. Additionally, the New Jersey Tort Claims Act also provides immunity to a township or township employee regarding the enforcement of safety ordinances and regulations. And I just add that I've looked at the general ordinances for the town, and it's difficult to really understand the ordinance as it relates to surfing.
Okay, so next issue that was brought up. We're just going down the list, we just have 2 or 3 more issues.
Yeah, Mike, we have, just to
Yeah.
give you
Oh,
time.
you gotta do your thing?
No, 5 more minutes.
Okay.
So just as you're planning your
Okay.
presentation and stuff, in like 5 minutes, we need to kind of stop and
Okay.
start the rest of the meeting, and then we can pick this back up again.
Okay, thank you. The lifeguards, this is an issue, lifeguards would be distracted by surfers outside the flag. We specifically asked that of all of the townships that or all of the lifeguard squads that we could get to down the island, and they said absolutely not, it's not an issue. By the way, to reiterate, we are outside the flags unguarded. We don't want to be guarded, we don't need to be guarded, we're not a burden to the lifeguards. We'll require no extra lifeguards, no town added lifeguards for these programs. So no added cost, no beach badge rises due to this, might be due to other things, not due to this. All I can say is, other towns that do this, since we don't do it in our town, we cannot comment on it. But other towns that do it say it is not an issue. Now, could a surfer require a rescue someday? Anything is possible on this planet. Anything is possible. It is highly unlikely. It's just a remote probability. If it were our inclination to keep our whole town from surfing because of something that might happen someday, then we should probably think about restricting body surfing, and we're not gonna do that. So we shouldn't be restricting something that might possibly happen someday. The next issue that was brought up, parking. I'm gonna just group 2 of the next issues together. Parking and misbehaving, surfer misbehaving in the, in the 60s and 70s, we were hooligans back then. We're not hooligans anymore. Well, it was fun though. But parking, and this, days where there's red flags and there's waves are the only days that people are gonna travel that might come into our town. If they come into our town, first of all, you're gonna go to Holyoke, and then you're gonna go to Shipon to save money, you're gonna go to Surf City to have a hamburger and surf, and the waves are actually good in Surf City. And then you might come to Harvey Cedars. If you come to Harvey Cedars, you go to Hudson or Bergen, and they have been open for years and years and years. Any parking situation that might have arisen has arisen for years. We asked specifically in the data that we asked for from the town, are there any issues related to the surfing safety and all, but also other issues like parking at Bergen and Hudson, and it came back with there are no issues. And I know that Chief Burnford and the other chiefs before him, if there were issues, we would shut it down. We don't let anybody take advantage of us here in Harvey Cedars, and there's no data on that. So opening up our flags, doing the buffer system now, and doing a trial, we don't think would add any, be any parking problem whatsoever. And by the way, just everybody remember, it's a trial. It's not an obligation for the rest of the time. It's a trial. If it works, great. And this is an important point. The value of having surfers in the water, the actual documented value of having surfers in the water that saves swimmers is far outweighs any theoretical or minor distraction that a lifeguard might have. Again, that's not documented. Okay, last issue. A minute?
Sure. 2.
2 minutes. Okay, safety issues related to bottom topography. This just came up out of the blue,
What was that?
safety issues related to bottom topography, or
Okay.
topography. This came up in the last few weeks. We haven't discussed it. It just popped up in a draft of a survey that the town may send out next week. And we asked our captain of lifeguards about it specifically, and there's no issue related to that can be assigned to safety issues that might come up because of topography. And just keep remembering, there's no safety issues whatsoever that have come up with survey, so there certainly aren't any that came up with topography. I'm a geologist, I have a master's degree in geology, I have a focus on coastal geology. Barrier islands, the wave action is the same town to town, mile to mile. Certainly not different enough to be that you can measure and document and assert that bottom topography causes a safety issue or is different in our town versus any. And since there's been, again, no safety issues, we need to kind of dismiss the topography discussion as a non-issue. There's just no facts behind it. I'm happy, if anybody has facts on that, I'm happy to discuss it, but it shouldn't be brought up to scare people. I think we should take a break, and then we don't have much more, but
Okay.
take a break.
Yeah, because then after we're done this portion of the meeting, I'm probably
Okay.
gonna go to the wedding, but I thought it was important that I was here. I didn't want
Yes,
to feel like I was.
the most important part's coming up, though. So
Hurry up.
you'll have to read
The
it.
I do.
All right, we approved the minutes, so, those of you that have joined our regular scheduled program here, Barbara, it's good to see you, I see that you've come in, the Surfing Coalition, wanted to speak with us, and I have a wedding that I have to go to, and that's why we started that portion. Okay, so now we're gonna do our regular business, and then we're gonna reconvene there on the survey. Ordinance 2017-27 is the first reading, an ordinance of the Borough of Harvey Cedars,